Hey, this is Kevin Pollak, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. But I guess you knew that, didn't you? Unless, of course, you lost your head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
And that would make me Terrible Troy.
And joining us here right off the bat, we have actor and crooner Patrick Barnett on the line. How you doing?
I'm very well tonight, fellas. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. And great to be on the line with Neil and Troy out there in Massachusetts. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
We appreciate coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, a lot of stuff going on, but Coffin 2 is out now on iTunes, Amazon. I think it's on video on demand on YouTube. I think it's in Redbox. Can you give people an idea of what the movie's about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we did, Coffin 1 a couple of years ago. Coffin, the original Coffin is a psychological thriller, sort of a horror / psychological thriller, sort of a race against the clock. My wife in the movie gets kidnapped. Not to give too much away, but she gets kidnapped. She goes to an acting class and she has an affair with someone in an acting class, and she gets kidnapped. And I have 48 hours. I think it's 48 hours to find her and save her life. So I get terrorized by a madman in the first one. And the second one, there's a bit of a time lapse, bit of a time jump. Beginning of the film, I am in jail. I'm in prison because I terrorized a few people and for something that I did, and paying paying the price for it. And I'm in jail for a while. And the second one, we introduced a lot of new characters. The first one, we had Kevin Sorbo, the great Kevin Sorbo, Hercules. And we also had Bruce Davison, the great Bruce Davison, who was, of X-Men. He's been in everything. He's one of those guys, one of those character actors you see, and he's been in so many TV shows and movies. Wonderful guy. So they were in the first. They were not back for the second, but in the second one, we've added some amazing cast members. The great Robert Mukes, House of 1,000 Corpses. Robert Mukes, wonderful actor. He's got a big horror following. And also added Scott Hamm, the wonderful actor Scott Hamm. He's also a co-producer on the film. So in the second one, a couple of new characters in the second one, but there's a number of great twists, and I spend most of the film in jail, but there's some twists that I don't really want to give too much away, but there's some nice twists and turns in the second one, and people seem to be enjoying it. You mentioned, I'm very impressed. You know all the platforms that it's on. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, so we're on Redbox. We're on Redbox now. We've been on Redbox for about 4 months now. We just had a debut earlier in January on iTunes and also Google Play. We just found out the other day that I think we have distribution in China to start. So it's all the distribution is starting internationally speaking. But there's a third one in the works right now. The great Kip Tribble, who's our leader, who's the creator of the Coffin series, the writer. Kip is, I've known Kip for years. We've done a bunch of movies together. But Kip wrote, starred, and directed in both Coffin films. So right now he's penning a third, and we're going to have many of the core members back. We'll have the great, Johnny Alonso, who plays Trick in all the installments. Johnny and the great Derek Wingo, who was also a co-director of the first one. He also starred and co-directed in the first one. But we're going to have a great sort of kind of a core group of folks back for the third. Scott Hamm and a number of folks to kind of keep the through line going, but it's going to be a whole new deal with the third one. Kind of weaving the old characters back, and we're gonna have a really great story. The stuff I've heard thus far is really exciting, so I'm really excited for the third one. And it's really great working with these guys. We shot Coffin 2 in about 10 days, similar to the first one. We shot the first one in about 10 days.
Oh, wow.
and we shot it all. Yeah, it was seriously, guerrilla filmmaking, as they say, and we shot all over Los Angeles, in Rancho Cucamonga, and in a couple of other cities in LA, but to kind of give it that grit. But yeah, we had a wonderful, wonderful team, creative team. Spencer Johnson, the executive producer, and the great Sunny Dench, who plays my wife. She returned for the second one. We had Laura James, the wonderful Laura James, who's John James's daughter, John James of Dynasty fame.
No,
And,
nice.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
John James. It's interesting. We did a film a couple of years ago. There's another film that I worked on with Kip and Johnny and Derek and the whole gang. A really great, a film I'm really excited about, called Chronology. That we're hoping for a pretty release to happen soon. But in any event, that's a really cool film that is a supernatural thriller. It's a whole number of elements in this film, but it examines everything from reincarnation to time travel. It's a really, really cool film. The script's amazing. Kip wrote that, and Johnny's in it. Johnny Alonso and Scott Hamm, Kip, Derek, and we had an amazing cast. We had Danny Trejo, the great Danny Trejo, on that.
Oh, sweet.
Dan Trejo. I got to work with Trejo and do five scenes with him and play his sidekick, and we play a couple of bad dudes, and then we had Billy Baldwin.
Oh, sweet.
Danny. It was great working with Billy. He's a very great, cool guy.
Wow.
And then we had John James and Monica Tilling and Elise Nixon. We just had so many, really a great cast. So a couple things happening, and we've got a relationship. Like I said earlier, I've worked with Kip and Derek and Johnny and Johnny Alonso and everybody for such a long time. We've really got we kind of have a shorthand. We've been working together for so long that we can kind of finish one another's thoughts. It's kind of a nice family we've got going on. So.
Mm-hmm. So you said you were friends with Kip for a long time. How did that come about? Where did you guys meet?
Kip, it's interesting. I met Kip through Derek. Derek Wingo, who is one of the stars in both Coffin films, and he also co-directed Chronology. I actually know Derek through Star Trek. I met Derek on Star Trek. I worked on First Contact. I was in First Contact, and Derek was one of the effects artists, way back when, on First Contact. And Derek and I we became great friends, and he's one of my best buddies. And we've known each other a long time. And I actually met Kip through Derek. So Kip and Derek, I guess I'm trying to remember if I'm trying to get my chronology, together. But in any event, I believe that they met in some sort of an improv class, and I met Kip, and they've been writing a lot of projects together and working on things for a long time. And I met Kip, and Kip produced a film that Derek. Actually, this is kind of some new news. I did a film with Derek. Derek wrote and directed a film that we shot a long, long time ago, almost 20 years ago, in Oregon, called The Waiters, which is a romantic comedy about waiters, about actors who are also waiters and waiting on their break, their big break. And so Derek offered me a part in that. So we shot The Waiters, which was great fun up in Portland. Went up to the Northwest for a week. I had a hell of a time. It was a great, great, great time. And we shot that, and we took that to, went to a whole number of festivals. So Kip was one of the producers on that, of The Waiters. And we just got released on Amazon Prime 2 weeks ago. So you guys can check out The Waiters on Amazon Prime. It's a really fun film. Actually, I'm also a singer. You mentioned that at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And one of the songs that I recorded, my first album, which I recorded way back then, one of the songs, which my producer wrote, Howlett Smith, who's a brilliant songwriter, great friend of mine, and a really a genius songwriter, wrote this song called "When the Time Is Right," which actually, for anyone who's curious and likes jazz and sort of likes, swing and kind of jazzy Frank Sinatra kind of stuff, is available on iTunes. When the Time Is Right, and it's a marvelous song that Howlett Smith wrote years ago, and when Derek heard it, he put it in the movie. So I act in the film. I play the bartender and in the film, and I also have some tunes in there that I'm singing. I'm singing some of the songs for the soundtrack. So that was a real treat, to work with. It's always when you work with your friends, it doesn't really feel like work. It's amazing to have the opportunity to act, and when you do get the chance to do it, it's exciting, but when you're working with your friends, I mean, there's really nothing like it. It's really not work. I mean, it's fun, and you might have long days, but so we shot that up in Oregon. We did nights, and so it's like I said, I have a great history with these guys. It continues with Coffin 3, which is coming up, and Kip's got a whole bunch of other things up his sleeve that everyone will soon know about. So it's exciting stuff.
So since you guys knew each other, did he write the role for you in the first Coffin?
I don't really know. I mean, all I know is that Derek was out here. He was in LA for he's living out east. He's living in New York for years. So he flew out to LA and he said, "Listen, man, let's have a beer. Let's catch up." So we had a beer, and he said, "We have the money to do this film. We got funding for this thriller." And he mentioned the story a bit, and I said, "Listen, man, if you have a part for a bad guy or a cop or something, keep me in mind." So he called me 2 weeks later, and he said, "Hey, man, I just sent you the script. We're shooting in 2 weeks, and you're playing this part. You're playing the part of Jack, and it looks like we're doing nights again, because we have this. Every film I do with these guys, it seems to be all at night, which is kind of so we're all a bunch of nocturnal people. So in any event." So yeah, he called me up, and so I really don't know the answer to that question, but it was a great honor to work with these guys again, and also to get to work with the likes of Bruce Davison. He's an Academy Award nominee. I mean, that's for anybody, anybody who's an actor, to work with somebody of his caliber, and also someone of the level of Kevin Sorbo. It's you're kind of pinching yourself. You finish the scene and you kind of walk away and you think, did I just do the same with that guy?
Yeah, those are some great casts in those movies.
Yeah. So I mean, we're really blessed. We're very we've been very blessed, and all of us felt that way. But these guys were phenomenal. I mean, Bruce Davison, Kevin Sorbo, I remember, Kevin was so helpful on set. I mean, he was just one of these guys he's such a pro, I mean, he's a big star, he was on 2 major network shows for, almost a decade, Hercules and Andromeda, but like the most down to earth guy on the planet. And also, just a very humble guy, and, from the Midwest, and, lots of stories, and they told great stories. And also, just he was helpful, and he helpful in sort of a constructive. He would suggest things like, "Hey, do you want to try this?" And it was a real collaborative spirit on the set. And Johnny Alonso, listen, he most of my scenes in the first Coffin are with Johnny Alonso, and he's a great buddy, and he's an amazing actor and a musician as well, great musician. But he was on One Tree Hill and Dawson's Creek, and Johnny, we spent, he shot this movie for 10 days at night, the original, and like I said, we have most of our scenes together. But I mean, a hell of an actor and a great guy, and we really, like I said earlier with Bruce Davis, when you're working with a great actor and, guys like Kip and Derek, it's easy, you really, you take that ride, it's like a roller coaster ride, you kind of, you prepare and you get ready, and all of a sudden it's just, you're out there playing, good guys, bad guys, cops and robbers, so it's thrilling to work with guys of that caliber. So it's been fun, and I think people are really going to enjoy Coffin 2. We've been getting a great. We had some really nice notices. We had a really nice piece recently in Film Threat. I think it's Film Threat. I might be getting my horror websites confused. I think it's Film Threat. Yeah. In any event, forgive me if I did, but I think they gave us we've been getting some nice press. Some nice notices, and it's nice. It's just nice to be out there. It's nice for people. We had a lot of people that watched the first film. Many people who requested a second film. We had a lot of people for years, friends and just fans, people that saw the first one. I got, like, a couple of months ago, I got a very nice note from someone in Norway who sent me a note on Facebook saying, "Hey, Sarah, I just watched Coffin. I just watched Coffin on Norwegian TV at 11 o'clock at night. This is 7 years later." And so, there were a lot of those nice, like, happy accidents that happened after we did the first, and there was a lot of interest, and we made it happen. Spencer and Kip and everybody made it happen. So, it's been great, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's got to be great to get positive feedback and things on, stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not, I mean, look, I mean, everybody, I mean, you do it because you love it, and we all love doing it. But, it's nice when you do something, you make a film and you put it out there, and everything's got its orbit, it's kind of out there it's out there for the public, and, you might get a couple-year run out of it, between, Netflix and then it gets distributed and people may buy it. But, when you hear, like, 5, 6, 7 years later, people are watching it on TV in another country, it's, you realize that, it's fun. It's, it's exciting and fun, so.
Mm-hmm. For like independent movies, how important are these new platforms, like relatively new platforms, like streaming on Netflix and Amazon Prime and video on demand, Redbox?
I mean, they're huge. I mean, they're huge for the independent filmmaker. I mean, 10 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, if you're releasing a film, I mean, you can make a film now, assemble a sort of a solid cast, a great script with a solid cast, and even get some names and, do it, sort of a micro budget horror film or thriller. And, these platforms help immeasurably, at everything from, Twitter to Facebook to Instagram. It's really amazing the mileage you can get out of that, and how much that will boost your exposure and sales even. So it's really mind blowing when you consider the possibilities. Even when you're promoting a film, you can start a
point
Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, point people in that direction with links and such. But you can even boost posts. People that make films that sponsor posts that you can blast it out. Whether you're a musician or an actor, or you've got a film, or you're a filmmaker or director, you can blast it out. You can blast it out all over the world. You can spend, put a budget together and just, target different countries that you want to target. So it's it's a whole new world, and I'm just catching up.
So making a movie in 10 days, is that a hectic experience, or how does that happen?
It happens because you have a lot of, a really excited people that want to make it, that want to see it through, and are really committed. It's not a lot of time, I tell you. I mean, you're shooting, 10, 12 pages, 15 pages a day. It's almost like shooting an episode of TV, But we've been really lucky. I mean, on the first one we had this amazing crew, DP, this wonderful Japanese DP, Keiko Nakahara, who was the DP in the first one. We had a tireless crew in the first one. Likewise in the second one we had we had just a great crew, group of actors, and locations, came through at the last minute. We got this phenomenal location that I believe Scott Ham made happen in the second one, out in Rancho Cucamonga. There's this, there's a lot of the movie in the second one takes place in this sort of warehouse, and I believe he made that happen. Had some connections, and we had this phenomenal warehouse that we got to shoot in for a number of nights, all through the night. And so it takes a lot of committed, dedicated people, but just really great folks all working for one goal, towards one goal. And it's exciting. It's a real rush. One of the great things about shooting something in such a short period of time is that you don't really have time to think. I mean, as an actor, you work on your the story, and you get everything down, and then it's sort of like I said, man, it's like taking a ride at an amusement park. Taking a roller coaster ride. I mean, you really just got to go for it. And you can't, and you don't have time to shoot multiple angles. You get like a master shot, and then you get a couple of singles, and you might get a steady cam shot or a things like that. And sometimes you have a bit more of a budget, you have more of time. I mean, like on Chronology was a bigger budget, so there was quite a bit more time. We even had a lot of cool drone shots in Chronology, but in any event, it's a real rush. I mean, just to give you one example, like the first in Coffin 1, the first Coffin, I drove to like Car Center Downey, which is not far from Long Beach in LA, the LA area here, and I had to get to this Mexican restaurant by 6 p.m. I got there. I'd already talked to Johnny once on the phone. We just connected. Both East Coast guys, and hey man, what's up? And I look forward to it. Good meeting and that kind of stuff. So we got to the set, and we had dinner, and they put me in makeup, and they were setting up the shot, and Derek just walked by me. He's like, "Hey man, what's up? How you doing?" I said, "I'm good." He goes, "Are you ready?" I said, "Yeah." And then I had my suit on, and we got in the car, and then immediately we shot one of the most intense scenes in the whole movie. Right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those things that you don't have time to amp up. There's no time to no time to really get in character. You got to just you just got to hit it. And it's exciting. It's exciting. It's like it's like when you're a kid, you get the candy at the store, you get the Pop Rocks, right? And you take a hit of the Pop Rocks, and you're like, this is great. So it's I'm dating myself with that reference, but it's that kind of a feeling.
Well, I'm a big fan of Pop Rocks. So yeah.
Yeah, they're great, right? Who doesn't like Pop Rocks? But my point is, my point is it's an adrenaline shot, and it's like, and that's how it was, and that's how it's always been. We did night shot. I mean, we're driving through El Segundo or the South Bay, and in an SUV that was lit up like a Christmas tree at like 11 o'clock on a Friday night with like 15 crew members in a car. I mean, you just got to get it done, and so in any event, it's exciting, and we were able to do it the second time because we had a lot of the same people back, and we had all these great new people like Robert Mukes, and we had this phenomenal crew on Coffin 2. We had a phenomenal DP, Matthew Wozniak. Definitely keep an eye out for him. He's an exciting young cinematographer, Matt Wozniak, and Scott Neff, who was the sound guy, and a wonderful AD named Austin Thomas Wood, and just Katie, who was did the hair and makeup. Just a whole bunch of great people, great actors. We had Laura James in the second one, and and Krista Melbardis, Heidi Schultz, and Elise Nixon once again. Dan Evans. It was exciting, man. And and Robert Mukes are you guys familiar with Robert Mukes?
Yeah, he's been on the show, and I hosted a 10th anniversary panel of A House of a Thousand Corpses with him, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, and we had a blast. We didn't actually have any scenes together, but we hung out on set, and I saw him down at Comic-Con over the summer and at the premieres, and he's an awesome dude, and we hope to work together, with him again soon. And I'm trying to think what else. And also, also a singer. I think you guys mentioned that.
Yeah. I heard one of your singles. One for my baby, one more for the road on YouTube, on your YouTube page.
Oh, cool, man. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening and watching.
Yeah, it was both. I guess it's a video.
What's that, buddy?
It was both, I guess, watching and listen, since it was a video.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, that was we recorded that. I'm working with a new producer, a wonderful guy named Stefan Oberhoff, who's a phenomenal. I mean, I can't say enough about this guy. I mean, he's some people have one gift, and other people have like 15, and but Stefan's amazing. He's a musician. He's a vocalist, a guitarist, a pianist. He plays these instruments equally beautifully. He's a producer, wonderful guy, and we recorded One for My Baby, the classic Sinatra tune, and we decided, it's kind of such a cinematic kind of Sinatra saloon song,
sure.
Classic saloon song, that we thought, what, we've got to make a video. So we thought, it would be kind of a cool idea to make a video, and I did the woman, there's a wonderful young filmmaker that directed the video named Ashley Eberbach, who I did a film. I actually did a very cool short film a couple of years ago. You guys might get a kick out of, called Axiom, and it's a supernatural. Actually, no, it's a science fiction, a sci-fi thriller about robot Armageddon. So it's not zombie Armageddon. It's the robot Armageddon, and I play an evil robot. I play an evil robot dealer, and all the world has been taken over by these technology and robots, and there's this dealer, this evil villain who's controlling all the robots, and all the robots happen to be beautiful women. So the shoot was a blast, and she wrote this piece. It's a really cool piece, and it's one of the coolest and most fun things I've ever worked on. So she directed the video, and came up with a concept, and we shot all over downtown Los Angeles, and we're definitely work together again. But I've been recording a bunch more, a bunch of other things with Stefan. We did My Funny Valentine last year, so that's out on iTunes, and we just recorded a kind of a different version of an old Latin tune, actually an old Italian song called Quando, Quando, Quando. It's an old Pat Boone, Engelbert Humperdinck song that we kind of slowed it down, as a bossa nova. We kind of did it sort of in a Michael Bublé kind of fashion. But I recorded it with a phenomenal friend and singer named Laura Purcell. So we do a duet on this one, and that's going to be out in about a month. And then we're also doing. I'm working on a big band project. So that's next. Working on a big band project.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm working with another great arranger producer named Paul McDonald, who's who's British. He's a wonderful guy, and just another infinitely gifted human. And he's writing all the charts, and we've got a phenomenal, one of the best horn sections around. They're going to be on it. So that's going to be happening in the spring, and it's just Coffin 3 is in the wings. We don't know when that's going to happen, but so how'd you guys? You guys are obviously horror fans from when you were kids, right?
Yes, yeah. Troy's 9 years older than me, and we have a single mom, and so when she would bring Troy and his friends to the drive-in instead of getting a babysitter, she would bring me along. So as I was seeing, a lot of these horror movies when I was very, very young. I told the story before, but the first one I remember is seeing Night of the Living Dead when I was, I don't know, probably 5 or 6. And there's the big scene when the car blows up and the zombies are eating everybody, and I'm getting a little, a little scared. And she, turned around and said, "Oh, don't worry, they're just having a barbecue." And ever since then, I was cool with horror movies.
That's cool. That's quite a memory. That is, yeah. Watching the zombies eat some flesh as one of your first movie going experiences. I dig it. I mean, I was one of my first. I mean, I'm trying to think. I've always loved horror. As a genre. I always loved being scared. And when I was a kid, my brothers used to push me. I have 2 older brothers, and we used to go to this. I grew up in New Jersey. You guys are Mass, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. A lot of good friends up that way. In any event, so I remember we used to go to I used to go to Great Adventure, which was Great Adventure in New Jersey is like a Six Flags. It's Six Flags. And
okay.
So there used to be a haunted house. Used to be a haunted house in Long Branch and a haunted house in Great Adventure. And I remember my brothers used to push me first through the haunted house. Like I was the test dummy.
Oh man.
So, but any event, you gotta love it, man. I love my brothers. I have 3 brothers, but in any event, we had a lot of fun. But I remember all those movies, man. I mean, one of the first horror films. Well, I mean, the horror film that probably had the biggest impact on my life was The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
great movie.
And I remember seeing. I was a bit young to see it in the theaters, but I remember seeing it on TV a couple years later. And I mean, I to say I'm a fan of The Exorcist would be an understatement. I think I've seen the movie on the big screen about 30 times.
Nice.
And my brother, 2 of my brothers went to Georgetown. My brother Dave, my older brother Dave went to Georgetown, and I remember, The Exorcist was shot largely in Georgetown, and there's a scene at the end where Father Karras jumps through the window, where he gets possessed by the devil, and he jumps to the window, and he jumps out into the staircase and tumbles down, and well, that staircase is in Georgetown. As I'm sure all of your fans and all of your fans and listeners know this already. But so when I used to visit my brother, I was so intrigued by Georgetown because of the steps, the Exorcist steps. So when I would go see my brother at Georgetown, I would actually go to see the Exorcist house, and then I would then walk down, up and down the steps. I'd get pictures, and it was really cool.
That's great.
So I mean, you can't, these. Go ahead. Sorry.
I would say it's a movie that still holds up, and I don't think any Exorcist movie has ever come close. To me, it's kind of like Jaws. There's no shark movie that comes close, and there's been so many Exorcist movies over the last 10 years, and some of them are all right, but none of them are even close to The Exorcist.
No, it's you're 100% right. I mean, there's just something about it. I remember reading the book, and William Peter Blatty was a Georgetown graduate, and I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe that the book was based on a real life account of an exorcism that took place. I'm not sure where, but it was based on a real life exorcism, and but just to be down at Georgetown and to kind of be around that and imagine what it was like to shoot there and all that. But I wanted to mention this before I forget. You have Tony Moran, the great Tony Moran, on in a little bit.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm very flattered to be on the same show with him. we have a lot of mutual friends, in the horror world, and we also have, a lot of mutual friends in the con world, because I've been doing a bunch of cons over the last 4 or 5 years, conventions, and got to different parts of the country, and I've met some really wonderful friends in Kansas and Kentucky and Illinois, but in any event, so I've not met Tony in person yet, but he's amazing, and actually, Halloween, which is also one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Definitely.
I saw it in the theater when it was released. Was filmed the actual neighborhood, of Haddonfield, Illinois, is literally about a half a mile from where I'm talking to you guys right now, and nice. Every year, I actually go down that street, maybe once a week, but it's every Halloween, I drive past the Halloween house, and it's pretty cool. So anyway,
yeah, excellent movie.
So I had to mention that because I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, and that's one of the greatest horror films of all time. So
yeah, without a doubt, it's just a great movie, and it's a lot of it is because there is no explanation why he's evil and why he's killing people, and that makes it scary because it could be like in any town, anywhere you're at, and then the Loomis character really sells the danger and like the evilness of the Michael Myers character, a man of science who for years is trying to help him, and then just realizes that he is pure evil. It's an excellent movie.
No, it's 100%. To hear that famous Loomis speech right in front of the house, right in that neighborhood, where he talks about his eyes were when he met and he interviewed Michael Myers, and how his eyes were dead.
Mm-hmm.
And his eyes were black, and I remember that, and that's such a, and that to this day is one of those moments in in film history, kind of horror, I should say cinema history, but certainly horror film history, where it's such a brilliant acting, that's such a brilliant scene, that's such a intense scene where he's describing Michael Myers as being the devil and evil. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What was your first love? Did you want to be a musician, a singer, or an actor first, or was it just kind of a combination?
Well, you know what? I mean, that's a tough question to answer, but I think I was probably singing. I mean, singing first. I mean, like I said, I've got 3 brothers, and my 2 older brothers were had all the albums. So when I was growing up, in New Jersey, they had quite a record collection. Everything from like Elvis to the Beatles to the Who to Elton John to the Cars. So I mean, I was listening to a lot of. I was kind of really steeped in classic rock, as a kid, and I was, in a rock band when I was young with my buddy Greg Sweeney and some kids from the neighborhood, and I was just always I always loved music, and and also movies as well, but I was kind of playing music first, and then I had so many kind of big movie experiences as a kid, from everything from Jaws to to E.T. to just some of the big movies of the late 70s, like French Connection, things like that, films like that, and so many amazing films that have Star Wars, and so many of these big kind of cultural events, cultural milestones that were happening when I was a kid. I also, I remember seeing, John Wayne, I mean, and kind of when I was really, really young and kind of opening my eyes to the world of movies, there was a couple of these huge actors of the golden era of films were still around. Like John Wayne was still alive, and and Steve McQueen. So I remember when I was a kid, I went to see The Towering Inferno in the theater.
Oh yeah,
You had Paul Newman and Steve McQueen. I mean, and the Poseidon, and all these giant films, so you got to see these screen icons, and they were such massive experiences, and and the Poseidon Adventure, and then Jaws, and then John Wayne, one of the last films before he died, the great film The Shootist with Ron Howard. So all these films, and also too, music wise, I mean, I was a huge Kiss fan. I was an enormous Kiss fan when I was a kid. I saw Kiss, at Madison Square Garden when I was a kid, 1976.
Oh wow!
And that was, So these are just such huge experiences, and then later on, when I moved to LA, and as I got older, I was started to act and all. I started listening to more and more jazz and more Frank Sinatra. And I love all music. I listen to all different types of music all the time. But I started listening to Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett and Chet Baker and all the jazz greats, and Bobby Darin's one of my big influences. And so my grandfather was a singer. My grandfather was a really great singer when we were kids. He played ukulele, and he had a beautiful voice.
Nice.
So that was a big. He was a big influence on me musically when I was young, because my grandfather had a really gorgeous voice, and he could sing well in his 80s, and so he was an influence, and there's just so many things happening at that time. It was an exciting time to be kind of growing up, and a lot of great movies in the 80s, a lot of the John Hughes films, and just so much great stuff, that's really memorable,
Yeah. So how can you find your music?
Okay, so you guys can find me. You can find me on iTunes, Patrick Barnett on iTunes. Our new single's out. One's for My Baby, My Funny Valentine. Our album's out. You can also you can find Coffin 1 and Coffin 2 on iTunes as well. You can also stream if you prefer streaming. You can stream our music on Apple Music, on Spotify. For listeners that may be in Europe, there's another platform called Deezer, which is a big platform over in Europe. But all the major platforms you can find my music on. Also, you guys can follow me on Instagram. You can find me on Insta, Instagram, and then Twitter. There's always the Twitter, and then Facebook. Facebook. You can find me. My personal page is Patrick Barnett, and then my artist page is Patrick Barnett Live. And I will mention this, that I'm actually. For any listeners who may be in Los Angeles, I'm performing. I've got a concert on March 10th at Baroni's. Baroni's famous Italian restaurant, and it's some of the best pizza in the world. Actually, a little Hollywood trivia. Fast Times at Ridgemont High was filmed at Baroni's way back in the early 80s.
Oh, no kidding.
So I'm performing at Baroni's on March 10th. March 10th with a phenomenal band, Billy Paul on drums, Karen Hernandez on piano, with some great guests, Tony Russell, who's been in a bunch of, he was in Casino with Martin Scorsese, wonderful actor and singer. Laura Purcell will be there. So that's just, what's happening. But listen, guys, I want to thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.
I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's been great talking to you.
Likewise, guys. Love the show, and give Tony my best.
We will indeed.
Yep, you definitely will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And when Coffin 3 comes out, you're welcome back on.
I can't wait. No, I actually talked to the guys. Maybe we can get a bunch of the guys on. When Coffin 3, maybe Johnny and Kip.
Yeah,
Robert Mutz and the rest of them, Scott Ham. Guys, thanks so much.
Thank you. And
a real pleasure.
And good luck on everything.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, guys. We'll keep in touch, and we'll keep you posted on everything.
Cool. All right, we'll be right back.
This is Henry Hill from the movie Goodfellas, and I'm on the show Without Your Head.